Good afternoon. My name is Bill Keller, and I am the Chief RSO, the Range Safety Officer, here at the Red Cedar chapter of the Isaac Walton League in Vinton, Iowa. If you're looking at this, you've either become a member, are a member, or you're considering a membership, and you're curious about our shooting ranges and shooting activities out here. One of the requirements of membership and of using the ranges is to attend a range safety briefing. What we found in the past is sometimes, honestly, that's hard to pull off. Everybody's schedule is busy. And so what we've come up with is this video alternative. I'm going to take you through the different ranges we have. I'm going to go through all the safety requirements specifically to each range, talk a little bit about the activities, some of our events. When I'm all done, the page will pass you on to a short quiz. Take the quiz, fill out the required boxes at the bottom, and that will be emailed to the range safety folks at the Red Cedar chapter of the Isaac Walton League here in Vinton, and that will become your permanent record that you've attended the briefing and you've met the requirements. So what we're going to talk about is general safety rules first. Then we'll talk about the pistol and rifle range, touch on the trap range as well as the archery range. The ranges at the Isaac Walton League here at the Red Cedar chapter are cold ranges. What that means is you may not bring a loaded firearm onto the range, and you may not have a loaded firearm away from the shooting line. Tables are provided at the rear of each lane that you can use for loading or storing equipment, that type of thing. You're welcome to place your weapons on the tables. We'd prefer that you store or place them on the table, chamber up, cylinder open, or loading gate open, and we'd like you to cant them to the side about 45 degrees so they're aimed at the side berms as opposed to completely down range. The basic rules always apply on virtually any shooting range. Rule number 1, always keep your firearm pointed in a safe direction. Number 2, keep your firearm unloaded until you're ready to use it. And number 3, keep your finger off the trigger until you're ready to shoot. A fourth one is always a good one to add. Make sure what's in front of your target and behind it. Remember, these are ranges where lanes are separated by berms. There are cross paths, so there's always the opportunity for a person not quite paying attention to walk between lanes. So keep a close watch on the range while you're here. That said, some general rules. You must have a valid carry permit if you choose to leave the range with your firearm loaded and in a holster. Otherwise, we'd ask you to leave the range as you came to the range, and that is with your firearm unloaded and cased. Just some general thoughts on conduct. Each person will be provided an ID card. If there's someone you don't hear, number 1, just introduce yourself. We're a pretty friendly bunch out here. It's a nice way to get to know each other, get to know other shooters. You get to look at their equipment, they get to look at yours. But you do have the opportunity to challenge them if you wish. If you don't believe they're acting like members or that they are members, just ask them for their card. That should hold true for you as well. If someone asks you to see your range card or your membership card, don't get huffy about it, just show them the card. Range hours here are sunrise to sunset. We do no night shoots on the pistol or rifle range. We do provide night shooting on the trap range, which is a fully lighted trap range. We encourage you to bring friends, introduce them to our club, introduce them to the range, bring them shooting with you. But honestly, if they come more than 3 times, we'd ask that they join. It costs money to run a range, costs money to keep it safe, costs money to keep it secure. If someone is using the range, we would ask that they become part of the group. If you bring family that are non-shooters, we'd ask that you keep them outside of the fenced-in area. There's an entry point. That entry point is locked and secured. Once you've watched this range brief and you've received your membership card and your range card, you'll be given the combination to the lock. That does change annually, so you'll notice in your annual dues to let you know that a change in the combination is indeed coming. We'd ask you to clean up after yourself. Certainly no problems bringing soft drinks or water on the range. But we ask that when you leave the place like you saw it when you came. Pick up trash, pick up your brass, police the area, and if you can, keep it a little cleaner when you leave than when you arrived. Specific things that are discouraged: draw from a holster, fast draws. All of those things should not be done outside of a training class. We do offer a number of training classes at the Red Cedar chapter, and some of those will provide draw from a holster, draw from concealment. Other than that, we'd ask you to engage all your targets from the low ready position on the pistol range, particularly. This is a non-smoking range. Anytime you step inside the gate to the range, it becomes non-smoking. If you want to smoke, please leave the primary range area and have your cigarette out there. This is a fully alcohol-free chapter, so any place on the chapter property, drinking, of course, is not allowed. Also, taking any kind of medication. If you are taking medication that might cloud your judgment, cloud your ability to do the job on the range properly, we'd ask that you simply not shoot that day. The chapter house is also closed periodically. For example, if we rent out the chapter house, we will indeed close both the rifle, the pistol, and the shotgun range. Archery range can remain open, but the shooting areas are closed. If you bring a minor on the property and in a shooting range, we certainly encourage parents to train their children. We also have scouting events out here that have youth, but all of those need to be accompanied by an adult, a responsible adult or guardian. Let's talk a little bit about the types of targets you can't use. You can't use beer bottles, you can't use pop bottles, you can't use pop cans, you can't use milk cartons. We provide room to mount targets at the end of the rifle range. We also provide stands for targets on the pistol range. That's what we'd ask that you use. You can bring your own steel targets if you like, some of the steel spinners, those kinds of things. If you do that, when you install them on the berm at the end of the range and shoot into the berm with that. All shooting is to be done forward of the berm, and what I mean by that is if you're going to come and do some work at the 21-foot yard or 21-foot range or the 50-foot range, those firing lines are forward of the loading tables, 21 feet and 50 feet from the berm. We will be providing tables down at that end of the range that you can pull off to the side if you want to store your handguns and your ammunition, that kind of thing. But all shooting must be done down forward of the berm. If you bring steel, make sure you keep proper distance. We ask that you keep at least 25 yards from the steel to the firing line that you're firing from. There are no other targets that are allowed. All little targets that are allowed should be placed directly in front of the berm at the end of the range. Please, if there are other shooters out here, pay attention. Watch their movements just as they should watch yours. If you do feel that something unsafe is being done, call a ceasefire. Proper way to do that is say ceasefire, ceasefire, ceasefire 3 times at the top of your voice. If you're a shooter on the line and you hear a ceasefire, we'd like you to come to the low ready, put your weapon on safe, and stand there until someone figures out why it was called. It may be an unsafe act, it may be an injured person, it may be a medical issue. but stand there until it's solved or resolved or decided what should be done. The biggest thing there and the biggest temptation is to turn around to see what's going on with your firearm in your hand. Please don't do that. Rule number 1, keep your firearm pointed in the safe direction at all times. If you have a misfire on the range, you're going to have 3 different types. A misfire, you press the trigger, it goes click, nothing happens. We ask that you keep your firearm pointed in a safe direction. Keep it pointed in that direction for 30 seconds, and after that, go ahead and clear your firearm. You may have a hang fire. You press the trigger, it goes click, and there's a delay, 2, 3, 4, 5 seconds, and then the round goes off. What we'd encourage you to do there is pay attention, see if it happens again. If it's factory reloaded ammunition, we would encourage you to switch to a different box. If it is hand-loaded ammunition, we'd encourage you to change to a different box. And finally, a squib load. A squib load simply sounds funny. A poofing sound, a sound, something like that. Basically what that means is that the powder inside the casing did not fully ignite, and you stand a pretty good chance of the bullet being lodged part way down the barrel. If you hear something like that, drop the magazine, open the chamber, rack the slide back, eject the old casing, and then check your barrel to make sure your barrel is clean and clear. Shoot the firearms on the range that you're on. If you're on the rifle range, that's reserved for rifles. Please respect that. If you're on the pistol range, again, primarily for pistol, although shooters will use that as initial sighting in of a rifle at the 50-yard line as opposed to the 100-yard line. Some people will pattern their shotgun and also check turkey loads as well as slug guns. The one thing we would ask is if you're patterning your gun, put your own cardboard up there. There seems to be a fondness for blowing apart the wooden target stands. While they don't cost a lot of money, they do cost time, effort, and some money. We'd simply ask that you respect the equipment. When you leave the fenced-in area of the rifle and pistol range, you can walk across the primary grounds of the property to get to the trap range. Trap is for shotgun use only. The bunker is for protecting the throwing equipment for the trap range. Please, the bunker is not a target stand, target backstop, nor is the shotgun area a rifle area or a pistol area. Shotguns for shotgun area, the same with the archery range. The berms that have been built to stand in behind the 3D targets are for arrows, not rifles, not shotguns, and not pistols. So the proper firearm on the proper range. If you have kids that are learning firearms and they're bringing out BB guns, pellet guns, that kind of stuff, they are to be treated the same as any other firearm. It's a good way to teach basic firearm safety, and also a good-sized pellet gun, powerful BB gun can do a fair amount of damage to a person as well. Obey the same rules. We may have special events. For example, at the Red Cedar chapter on Thursday nights we shoot trap, and on the second and fourth Tuesday during the warm months, May through October, we shoot steel here. Each event will have its own set of rules. Each event will be attended by range safety officers, and each RSO will conduct a range briefing prior to the event. Show up early enough to listen. Be nice if you showed up early enough to help. But please pay attention to the RSOs. They're there for your protection and the protection of the other shooters as well. The enforcement of all policies are at the discretion of the officers of the Board of Directors of the Red Cedar chapter. If you see a violation, whatever that may be, a gross safety hazard, just something that feels wrong, there are range incident reports that can be filled out, or you can simply send an email with a complete description complete description, time, date of the event, a complete description of what happened, people involved, witnesses involved if you have some, and simply email that to the pres.redcedar@gmail.com. That will go to the president's mailbox, and it'll be acted on from that point on by the board of directors. If you as a shooter have a number of incident reports filed against you, we do reserve the right, both as the safety staff and also board of director members, reserve the right to simply ask you to stop, to rescind your membership to the Red Cedar chapter. And we will do that if safety violations are an ongoing issue with any specific shooter. This is a members only shooting range, and again what I mean by that is if you've got a good buddy, don't share the combination. Bring them out to shoot, show them what we have, bring them out a couple times, but after 3 times ask them to join. Safe places to shoot aren't necessarily easy to find. Places that offer directed programs aren't easy to find. And those that do, it costs money to do all of that stuff. Please respect the rules and respect the safety rules specifically of the Red Cedar chapter. So a quick review. Always keep your firearm pointed in a safe direction. Never load it until you're ready to use it. Keep your finger off the trigger until you're ready to shoot. Make sure of what's in front of and behind of your target. Be courteous. Have fun. Enjoy. And when you're done listening to this tape, go on to the next page. Take the short quiz, and that will meet your requirements for a range safety briefing for the shooting ranges, pistol, rifle, shotgun, and archery at the Red Cedar chapter of the Isaac Walton League in Vinton, Iowa. Thank you very much for your time.